Hello, I'm Greg Rutke of Rutke Mods, and welcome to episode 15 of season 2 of my PowerPC series, and welcome also to part 3 of the World's Fastest iMac G4 mini-series that has been in this series since last season. This is the first part of this season, and it's of course just a continuation. Today we finally got the board back from S.2, aka Collin Mister. This is originally a 1.25 gigahertz iMac G4 board, and it has been upgraded to a 1.92 gigahertz 7448 G4, and it's a very nice system from what I've heard. I of course haven't seen it in person, but Collin has done a lot of tests on it, and this will be the world's fastest iMac G4 for a while at least. Collin's actually doing this service now that he's perfected it with my system and my old board, which he actually made into a 2 gigahertz model with a 7447 in it, which has half the cache that this one does. So in fact this one still performs faster at 1.92. And also this chip right here it has 4 times the cache of the original 7445, which was in this. So that's a big difference. It's going to be a huge leap in performance. And in today's episode we'll be putting the system together, and I'll be showing you a few things on how I'm doing it, how I'm assembling it. I had to pull apart my original very first iMac G4 to pull some parts out of it. I will be rebuilding that, and it's still going to be showcased in the future, but right now it's just parts. And I pulled out a bunch of parts because I'm waiting for stuff to come in the mail. I want to get this system built because I'm really excited to see it. So, let's get on to it. Okay, so before we begin with everything, I'd like to show you how this system started out. Now, my very first iMac G4, which we have right here, started out as a 1 gigahertz 17-inch, which this system also did too. And then Collin offered to give me his 1.25 board in exchange for mine so he could experiment with it. And then we ended up coming up with this idea to make the world's fastest iMac G4. So this is what the system started out as: a 1 gigahertz iMac G4. It had a MX4 in it, GeForce MX4, and this one has a Go 5200 in it. I think it's a Go, but anyway, I'll show you actually. Here it is right here, GeForce FX. It's a 5200 Ultra actually. So yeah, it's a 5200 Ultra. So that's basically the same GPU that came in as default base card for the early iMac G5s, only in a smaller chip form. Now if we look at these two, the boards are similar, but they are way different. This version has USB 2 in it, that better GPU in it, and this originally came with a 1.25 gigahertz G4 in it. But other than that, the G4s look identical. They're just different speeds. So we're going to quickly compare the two, which we can do really easy. I've cleaned this chip off and even pulled off the gaskets and stuff on it. And if we look down here, the original chip right here was a 7445, and this is a 7448. And as we notice, the die is way different. This is why this system's so much quicker. It runs cooler, it runs with less power, and it runs on a die that's literally half the size of the original. This is 180 nanometers. This is 90 nanometers. big difference. It's going to cool a lot better, and it should be able to keep this clock stable at 1.92, and who knows, in the future we may even put a faster chip on it if we can find another one. This started out as 1.4 gigahertz, and he overclocked it, changed the jumpers around to get it to go to 1.92, and the only other way you can tell anything had been done to it, let's turn this around without dropping it, is he had to change the jumpers back here. He well, these aren't jumpers, this is the voltage regulator unit. He had to drop the voltage. I believe that's where that is. But yeah, other than that, it looks factory stock. It's a very nice job he did here, and I'm looking forward to getting this, because it went from this to this, and it's a big difference. So what we're doing today, I'll put my original one back over here, and as we notice back here, I also have an iBook G4 and a Mac Mini back here, which sacrificed its RAM for this build because that RAM's not supposed to be in until tomorrow morning, and I wanted to build this today. So those will be rebuilt also. That's being rebuilt. But what we're doing today is we're taking the power supply that was in this system, because I'm not sure about this power supply since it had all those problems. Collin never had any problems with my original board. So I'm thinking it's the power supply. So we're going to swap that out. I'll probably have to order another one for this one. But we're swapping that out, making sure the rest of the insides are clean, and then we're going to be trying to fit this board into there. We're going to transfer over a Bluetooth module, an airport card, put a new param battery in it, and get it all set up. Now we already know this has an SSD in it, and all that other stuff. And in today's episode, we're just basically building it. And then in the next part, part 4, which will probably be in the next episode of the series, we will be going into, you know, performance-wise and stuff. I'm going to have to test it and make sure everything's working fine, clean up the system because it's kind of dirty. But right now, let's get on to building. Okay, so I just got finished talking to Collin, and in fact, this is actually a factory job here. This is not his mod, and I think this is actually the voltage regulator for the amplifier for the Pro speakers. Very interesting. I don't understand why Apple did this. This looks like a, you know, last thought thing here, like it was a quick fix. This might actually be repaired, might have been repaired at one point, who knows. Very interesting thing there. Very nice job done to it though, but very weird. Anyway, so I've got the base off of the original assembly. This has been off since December, and we're going to be taking this insides out here and then putting the new power supply in and buttoning it back up. So I'll start the video back up once I get this out, and then you can see what's on the inside. So let's get to it. Okay, I just finished talking to Collin. It was apparently a repair job done at the factory for a very poor board design, and that's why it looks like that. And he says he has another one that looks just like it. So I can't believe Apple actually did that. And I don't remember seeing it on my original 1.25 board, but then again, I haven't seen that thing in 3 years, and I kind of destroyed it. So anyway, I can't verify that. But anyway, here's the insides with the drive removed. There's the drive and the SSD. And now we are going to be taking this metal bracket out and taking all the screws out that hold the power supply and replacing it with this one. And then I shouldn't have any more power problems. And I might be able to find something wrong with this board. Who knows? Anyway, so let's get on with the taking apart. Okay, so I've got the screws out. Let's pull it out and see what happens. Oh yeah, this is a way different power supply. It's got a copper heat sink on it. It looks, in a way, beefier, but in a way it also looks older, which is the odd thing. Now when I say it looks older, it does look a little beefier though. If we compare the two, side by side, it looks older. The ground and the live wire here and all this stuff that transfer everything is a solid black wire on this one. It's definitely from a different manufacturer, I think. This is a Samsung, and this one is a it doesn't say. But anyway, this is the old power supply. I don't see anything immediately wrong with it, but just to be safe, let's replace it. So I'll set this back in here and do it all up, and we'll continue on. Okay, so the new power supply is installed. As we can see, the old one was of course white on the bottom. Everything's installed. I'll stick this back in and try to make it look nice and neat and try to cram everything back in here. Okay, so now that I have everything compacted back into there, it's time to address the board here. First off, we're going to flip it upside down, and we are going to install the new Bluetooth module. Now the 1.25 gigahertz model appears to have had a longer Bluetooth module than the 1 gigahertz model right here. This is the 1 gigahertz Bluetooth module. It plugs into here, and when we plug it in, you'll notice that it doesn't meet the screw hole right on one of them, so we're only going to be able to put one screw in, but that's not a big issue. But before we do all that, we need to plug this Bluetooth wire into the back of this. On the 1.25, it goes on the top. On the 1 gigahertz model, it goes on the bottom. I wish I had the 1.25 Bluetooth module, but I don't. So I'll hook this up here. Let's see here. Okay, got that into there. Now we need to feed this through here. Try to turn that. We need to feed this into here, connect this connector here, and here we go. Now I just got to put the screw on. And the board now has Bluetooth. Now I will have to route this wire around the board to where the Wi-Fi comes out, which I believe is this notch right here. That's where the Wi-Fi antenna goes. Yes, it is where it goes. I'm just looking at it right now. So we'll have to route this around here like so, and then have it end here. And I might have to tape that down, but what goes next is we have to put this template down that shows you where everything plugs in at. Actually, it looks like it will stay. So we'll put this template down like that, and that should hold the Bluetooth wire in place. So I'm going to set this down in the base real quick, and then I'll come back. Okay, so we finally got it into the base. That was a bit of a pain. I've already hooked in the modem plug, even though of course I don't need it. But now we're going to put the screws in. It only takes 4 screws. One of them is this screw right here, which is a nylon screw. Very interesting. Only nylon screw in the whole system. Okay. Got that in. Now we can put in these Torx 10 screws. One goes here. One goes in the power plug here. and one goes here. Now that we have all that in, let's start dressing up the board. Let's first flip it around, and let's put our 1 gig stick in. Line up the slots and clip it in like that. While we're at it, we might as well put in the airport card. Line it up and push it in. Then we can connect the Wi-Fi antenna. And we can connect the Wi-Fi antenna. Then we can, there we go. That took a while. Okay, got that in. And now, let's put in the 1 gig stick here. Actually, first let's put the pram battery in. Let's see here, which side's positive? That side's positive. So we'll click that in here. It didn't go in. And we'll clip that in here. There we go. Now it's in. Got a new pram battery. And now we can line up the RAM module here. And it clips into place. So now we have everything done, except now I have to put the heatsink on, which I have to go get, and I have to make sure everything is clean before I do that. So I'll be right back. Okay, so here's the heatsink, and I've already put a nice layer of Arctic Silver on the die there. And basically, this heatsink's really easy to put on. This may not look like a whole lot, but the actual heatsink happens to be the metal shielding, the huge, I think it's like steel case. I don't know if that's magnetic or not, but anyway, it's a very thick, heavy-duty metal case, and that acts as a giant heatsink. So we should never have to worry about any heat issues. I'll have to put thermal paste onto these pieces, but first let's mount this. So basically the only thing you gotta do is line up these posts in these holes on the board, here and here, and hopefully do this without breaking anything. So there we go. It's not on yet. We have to put this pressure retaining clip on, and that will hold the heatsink down to the board. Let's see here. Not sure which way it goes. I don't think it really matters. So we'll line it up, and there we go. It is on there, and it should have enough pressure on there. So now the only thing we have to worry about is first I need to get the thermal paste onto those two pieces, and then we start lining up everything and clipping it in. So let's get to it. Almost have the system back together. Apparently on the 1.25 there's an extra 2 pins on this connector, which I had to modify to get it to fit. Those extra 2 pins actually don't get used, so there's no issue there. I am just having problems basically getting these to plug in, but I can't plug them in yet until I get the thermal paste on here. I put some on there just for good conductivity, but I need to get them here and here. So I'll do that, and next time you see this, the base will be back on it. So I had an issue getting the IDE cable to reach again. I originally gotten it to reach before, but for some reason I couldn't this time. So this time I put the original iMac cable back in and rerouted the board, the adapter board. There's a SATA extension to the back of it. I routed it down through, and now it's sitting here. We're going to see if that works. Hopefully in the next video you see it will have the base back on. So anyway, let's get going. So I don't know if I have this hooked back together correctly or not. We're about to find out. So let's do the first startup. We'll go straight into the boot menu and see what happens. I'm not sure if the SSD has been reconnected or not. So we're about to find out. Screen kicked on, that's a good sign. I don't know what it's doing. Okay, this is making me nervous. I really want to take it back apart. Come on. Show me the boot menu. Screen's just white. That's not a good sign. Uh-oh. It's really not a good sign. Okay, so to be honest with you guys, Collin was having problems with his monitor when he was working on this board and the other board. At some point, the board just stopped showing the display through the monitor. He thought it was his monitor, but I'm starting to think it may not have been. So we're going to find out once and for all with an external monitor, and I'll tinker around with this a bit. If that's the case, it might not be the board, but I doubt it's the monitor. So let's see what happens this time. I have no clue if it's working or not. I swear this system's cursed. Let's pretend that it's in the boot menu. Let's see if the other monitor kicks on. It does. Uh-oh. So it was in the boot menu, probably. Yeah, that's a bad sign. Well, at least I know everything's hooked up correctly, except maybe the display. I'm hoping that it's just the display not being hooked in correctly. I'm getting very nervous here. Let's get this connected to my Wi-Fi. Set the clock. Set this display resolution. Okay. So here's one thing. It detects the monitor's plugged in, I think. But it also detects that the monitor's not showing a display. As we can see. That's not good. Well, let's set the display on here. I don't know why it's in this aspect ratio. Well, I don't remember what aspect ratio this is. This seemed to work. No, it didn't either. Maybe it was this one. And no, that's not it either. says 1280 by 1024. Well, anyway, I don't know what to say, guys. The system seems to be running fine. Let's see. 1.92 gigahertz PowerPC G4. More info. Uh-oh, there's one problem. It's only reading 1 gig of RAM. Says DIMM1 is empty. That's not good. Uh-oh. Well, let's go to show you the hardware info. All the info about that. And yeah, of course the SSD is connected. It's working. Let's see if the Bluetooth card worked. Yes, it did. Okay, so that's a good sign, at least. I'll, I guess, crack this thing open one more time, try to figure out what's wrong with the system, because this isn't good. So the saga of the cursed iMac G4 continues. It's going to be probably a 5-parter now. We're on part 3. I just found out that this board, we probably got confused. That's why that connector was a different size. It's because this is a 20-inch board, and we plugged it into a 17-inch monitor. And that's what fried his monitor, and it has apparently fried mine also. Yeah. So what happens is the 20-inch runs at 12 volts, and the 17-inch runs at 3.3 volts. The 17-inch just had 12 volts sent through it. So it's fried. I'll have to buy a new one. I also have to take the whole system back apart and send him the board back. And it may not have been as stable as we thought. This thing was really fast while I was testing it, but my #1 stress test is to run YouTube. And right now it is, I think, 124 or something like that. The second the video started playing, the system totally locked up. It's not quite as stable as we thought it was. So, yeah. Collin has decided not to do upgrades yet. Until we figure out why this is doing this, because the system's not as stable as we thought it was. So now I've got to order a new 17-inch screen, and he's got to try to find a 17-inch board. He's going to sell this 20-inch probably, but then again, who knows? Since it's not stable, it probably wouldn't be a good idea to sell it until he at least fixes it. Yeah. It's a really neat system. I really enjoyed using it until I tried to stress test it. And when I found out that I fried my screen. So yeah. Anyway. So this was all experimental to begin with. No one has ever done what we've done. Daystar made a 1.92 gigahertz model, and yes, it was a 1.92 like this, except it was using a 7447. We're using 7448s, which no one ever put into an iMac G4. And we're learning very quickly they're not quite as stable as we thought. So yeah, I've got to take this back apart. Hopefully it won't take another 6-7 months to get another board back. But like I said, this is all experimental. We've never done this before. No one ever has. And we're learning very quickly that it's not as easily cut and dry as we thought. So anyway. So that's the end of this episode. Guys, don't forget to check out Collin's channel. He's got a lot of neat stuff. Just click this link right up here. I'll also put that at the end credits. And also, don't forget that my PowerMac G5 giveaway is still going on. We have literally about 120 subs left, and that giveaway is over. So check that by clicking this link right up here. This was not the way I wanted to end this video. I wanted to show you guys this thing working great, everything working good, it being nice and stable, and I wanted to be ready and prepared for part 4, which was supposed to be the showcase of the whole system, and well, that didn't happen. Part 4 is probably going to be the video of me reassembling it again. But hey, this stuff happens. It's not his fault. Apple made the boards very similar. You know, the only way to tell apparently is that connector, and there's not a whole lot online about it. So yeah, that's the cost of being experimental. There's still LCDs out there for this. In fact, he just found one for me. I'll order that and put it into the assembly. And hopefully, I hope by the end of next month, I'll have the world's fastest iMac G4. Who knows? We might be able to get a clock even higher, but this time be stable. So yeah, anyway. So that's the disappointing conclusion for now, but I guarantee you there's going to be some fun, exciting stuff coming up soon with this system. And Collin will be making a video about how he built it. He didn't this time because he lost half the stuff. It's taken us literally months to do this, and a lot of boards, a lot of headache. So yeah, he lost a lot of that video, and who knows, he might put it into the next video, but he is making a video on how he made this. So you know, I'll eventually link a link to that. Actually, we'll just probably do that in part 4 when I get this one back. I'll link that video over. But anyway, once again, don't forget about checking out Collin's channel. DOSDude1 is the master of Mac mods and hacking them. Collin's a great guy, and you know, this stuff happens. It's not a big deal. It's a little bummer right now because I wanted to get this running, and he's a little bummed out too because he wanted to see it running properly. But you know, that stuff happens. So, oh well. Anyway, so that's the end of this episode, and thank you guys for watching. This has been a Rutk Mods video. Hey, it's playing. I restarted the system, and it seems to be working fine right now. I'm not sure if it's stable yet. It could have been a fluke last time, but yeah, there's still needing to be a lot of testing on these systems before we really get it going. But right now, the stress is working quite fine, and it seems to be working fine now, so who knows? We'll see what continues on. I'll let it run for a while, but either way, it's going back to Collin because of, well, those various different problems. Never mind.